Welcome to this step-by-step Photoshop style settings, hotkeys, and UI tutorial for Krita. In recent years, people have been looking more and more for free, open-source alternatives to programs like Photoshop. One of the biggest reasons for this is initially economic, but other reasons can also be added. In fact, the economic reason attracts more attention than many other reasons. For most people, software investment is not more important than hardware investment. And most people don't have the means to invest enough in hardware. In particular, instead of software such as Photoshop, which has become a relatively expensive platform for the world average, and has turned into a subscription system, similar to a time rental, there has been a trend towards open-source software that is common property of everyone, completely free, and meets professional needs. Over the years, open-source freeware has evolved so much that if we compare Krita, and PS here for example, Krita stands out not only because it is free at open source, but also because it is very intuitive and user-friendly, and offers many customizable features. Since the Krita editor was largely developed by artists, it offers superior features for both beginners and professionals in digital image production, design work, and digital painting and drawing. Krita has many features and drawing design tools similar to Photoshop, and some features are almost identical, so users coming from Photoshop can feel at home. With the interface and preference options, they can use Krita as if they were using Photoshop and easily keep the Photoshop interface and shortcut habits. So much so that they will be able to use it with features superior to Photoshop. That is the main purpose of this tutorial. We changed the interface for ourselves according to our own preferences and needs. In fact, we will explain the changes in the general layout together, with the theme color difference, by showing you step by step. If you have just installed the Krita software, or have not yet made any changes to the normal interface settings, you will see approximately this kind of workspace layout. Here are the themes. We'll quickly show you a few and explain in detail in the next section. We are currently using this layout and theme, but there are other themes that are available, and that we can create with our own preferences. We are showing it quickly. Details will be announced later. This is the layout we usually use, and of course we prefer dark themes. In a moment we will make it look like the Photoshop interface. First, we move the layers docker to the bottom, where it should be, actually. Even Photoshop could work with a layout similar to the one we have just used. It's a matter of preference. In the classic layout, the advanced color picker docker should be at the top. We changed the color model and the color wheel to a square one to make the interface more similar and to make Photoshop people feel more at home. We add the channels docker next to the layers. Actually, this is a feature I never use in my current work. But let's show that it exists. The tools in the toolbar on the left are almost identical or similar to those in Photoshop and most other industry standard design or drawing and painting programs. We can move and resize this toolbar as we wish, but of course we turn the tools into a single row of small icons to make it look like Photoshop. We can make the icons of brushes and pencils in the Brush Presets panel smaller. We can also make sure that detail information appears written next to them. There are many sets of brushes and pencils, classified by various labels or categorized by ourselves. Except for the ones we created, all of them are completely free, open-source shared brushes and pencils and resources from Krita itself and the Krita community. Since our topic is specific to Photoshop style settings, hotkeys and user interface training, we will talk about other detailed information later. Now we quickly move on to make other changes. We also add the overview panel from the dockers to the top section. I recommend adding it for its practical preview and other benefits for large and detailed projects. Photoshop has a slightly more primitive and simple version of the Canvas Preview tool. In Krita, the Canvas Preview tool, like many other tools, is equipped with superior features for ease of navigation. On Krita, Key 1 and Key 2, and Key 3 offer quick shortcuts such as center the canvas, zoom in to 100%, while 4 key and 6 key provide 15 degrees of rotation clockwise or counterclockwise. The 5 hotkeys on the keyboard provide a quick switch to plain normal view without rotation. By holding down the middle wheel of the mouse or by holding down the space key and dragging the mouse or the tablet pen, we can perform pan navigation. The scrubby zoom feature, which those who come from Photoshop will know, allows us to zoom in and zoom out by dragging the mouse or tablet pen up and down, while holding down the Control and Space keys, in the same way in Krita. In Krita, we can precisely rotate the canvas at smaller angles by holding down the Shift and Space keys and dragging the mouse or tablet pen in different directions. Under the View tab in the File and Action menu, we can choose to turn on or off some of the elements that appear in the interface. For example, we can turn on or turn off rulers, which are also available in Photoshop and work in a similar way. We can change the ruler units. In the classic view of Photoshop, there are usually channels next to the layers, and next to that a path, a primitive layer section of vectors. Yes, I say primitive because Photoshop, while partially including vector and shape tools, never offers as much vector graphics editing as Illustrator or Inkscape. But Krita does almost that, at least more effectively and practically than Photoshop. In Krita, vector graphics are sorted or displayed in a layer stack. However, the vector or raster status of the layer is indicated both symbolically and in text, indicating whether the layer is vector or raster based. Also, Krita's vector graphics editing tools are more functional and we can rasterize vector layers at any time with a single command. Yes, it doesn't offer as much vector graphics editing as Inkscape, but it does basic tasks quite adequately. In this regard, Krita Software is by far superior to Photoshop. We will discuss vectors in Krita and vectors in general in more detail later. For now, we will continue to modify the interface and make it more similar to Photoshop by understanding some small examples step by step and present you the equivalent and superior features in Krita. With all that said, many of the titles and subjects we cover can actually be considered training in their own right, and you can find them on our channel already and in the near future. We plan to present them to you soon. The shape tools in the tool panel on the right help us create raster shapes on a raster layer and vector shapes on a vector layer. Here as an example. As an introduction to the topic, we will quickly create a few shapes and present a few vector editing operations to be explained in more detail in the future. Let's also touch on the configuration and shortcut settings at a basic level. The shortcut settings scheme is compatible with popular graphics editing software, and there are options to quickly find similar settings. Some of them are partial, but you can manually assign different or additional hotkeys if you wish. After selecting the relevant tool or command and clicking the input button on the bottom tab, you can assign it by entering the relevant key or key combination. Assigning or changing shortcut settings in Krita is presented in a very practical, intuitive, and user-friendly way. Here are a few quick examples of Photoshop-style settings and hotkeys to assign and change a few of them. We are moving fast, provided that we will touch on other detailed information about the user interface training later. Let's show the example of assigning the letter I to the color selection tool, which is a very used tool, and as far as we know, Photoshop has the letter I as a shortcut key. When the Photoshop shortcut scheme is selected, some tools, such as the rectangle selection tool, are automatically switched on the keyboard with the M shortcut key as in Photoshop. We have briefly explained the general logic here. If you wish, you can easily edit the workflow, interface style and shortcut key options as you wish, or similar to the programs you are used to. Once you get the hang of it, you will be able to solve many of your problems easily thanks to the user-friendly and intuitive interface of the Krita editor. If you have any difficulties or problems that you cannot overcome, you can tell us in the comments. You can also get support from the large and generous Krita artist community online. In fact, Krita is already very similar to Photoshop, both in terms of style settings or hotkey options and the interface in general. Some of the shortcut key options are also available here without even needing modification. Krita has additional advanced editing tools, both at vector level and raster graphics and drawing and painting tools. The Krita editor is very flexible. Just like Lego, it can be shaped and modified in a very practical way according to your own style, preferences and wishes. Workspace presets give you a ready-made template or great references to get you started. Workspaces are basically saved configurations of Dockers. Each workspace saves how the placeholders are grouped and where they are placed on the screen. You can use all the available workspace presets, and what's more, you can also save a workspace preset with your own created favorite preferences. With the new changes and new preferences, we have created and saved a setting called PS_V2, which for us is a kind of workspace preset with a style and interface appearance approximately similar to Photoshop. Of course, you can have different preferences as you wish. Workspaces allow you to easily switch between workflows without having to manually reconfigure your setup each time. Workspaces can be as simple or as complex as you like, depending on the workflow you will focus on. For example, you may have a different preference for an artwork, animation work, or other design work. In Krita, you can export or save your work and projects in almost all available formats. You can even save or export it in a format that preserves features such as layer properties with the Photoshop PSD extension. In the same way, you can open and use your PSD file extension works in Krita. As we mentioned before, we will discuss vectors in Krita and vectors in general in more detail later. However, let's briefly touch on one more issue related to SVG format and vectors in Krita. In Photoshop, you cannot export SVG vector format files without plugins and external software. Krita excels in this area too. In the Import-Export section, under the Layers tab in the File and Action menu, you can easily export your vector layers or shapes in bulk, or piece by piece, with SVG vector format file extension. So we can say that some of the other features of Krita that are far superior to Photoshop are the easy export of SVG vector format file extension and advanced vector editing tools. There are many more features, but we will go into details later by giving only a few examples briefly without going too far off topic. We are transforming our work organization back to the way we are used to, and enjoy it. If you wish, you can create preferences in similar or different ways based on your needs and the tasks and practices you want to do, and determine your own workflow and workspace settings. Yes, here is our simple and cute, relatively uncluttered layout for us. Of course, in case of other needs, we can immediately select one of our existing settings in the Workspace preset type and create a new one, as we will explain in more detail in a moment. Now we are starting to give a little more detailed information and some of the topics that we promised to explain. Our lesson, which carries references and examples from our previous tutorials, continues in detail. If you have not yet installed Krita on your device, we strongly recommend that you find and follow our previous content on the most basic level, such as installation and general introduction, on our channel. We launched Krita, and the program opened immediately after a great 25th anniversary cover image. If you have just installed the Krita software, or have not yet made any changes to the normal interface settings, you will see approximately this kind of workspace layout. Basically, in Krita, or other industry standard drawing design art software, we can say that the interface actually consists of two main parts. The first is the workspace, in the center of which is a canvas connected to the layer system. And in the areas outside of it are subwindows and toolboxes, also called dockers, usually attached to the edge boundaries of the application. In Krita, it divides access to most of its features into functional panels called dockers. Dockers are small windows that can contain, for example, things like a layer stack, color palette, or brush presets. Think of them as a painter's palette, set of watercolors or brushes. In fact, in general, you can think of the Krita editor as a real-life painter's workspace, with a canvas in the center and drawing design tools, brushes, paints and pencils, and other tools and materials around it. As you can see on the welcome screen, the File and Action menus, which can be found in almost every windowed application, are located at the top. A sub-menu is the toolbar, and you can see that many other drawing design tools are active when an image file is open. The toolbar, in a nutshell, is where you can select your brushes, adjust parameters like matness, size, and other settings. But this is not the only toolbar. We can also select brushes from other toolbars and dockers, and we will look at the other toolbars and panels in a little more detail. On the left and right sides, you can see the tool panels or docker sub-windows and added menus. Portable panels or sidebars are known as interlocking spaces. Krita also allows you to place panels on top and or bottom, which we will explain in a moment with detailed examples. At the bottom is the status bar, which shows the preferred mode for displaying the selection, such as marching ants or mask mode, which gives control over brush preset, color space, image size, and a suitable zoom. Floating panel. These can be launched from docks or berths at any time to see a wider range of options. A good example of this would be the preset panel or the palette panel, and we will give detailed examples of this in a moment. In the Krita editor, the status bar at the bottom and the File and Action menus at the top are fixed, while all other panels can be placed and repositioned in any way and from any angle. Under the View tab in the File and Action menu, we can choose to turn on or off some of the elements that appear in the interface. For example, we can turn rulers on or off. Similarly, we can switch to Canvas View only, and even make preferences in Canvas View, such as whether the rulers are on or off. We can use Krita in full screen mode. We can also perform these operations using keyboard shortcut keys. For example, the Tab key can be used to switch to Canvas View, or to switch from Canvas View back to normal view. Under the Settings tab in the File and Action menu, there are theme appearance preferences for Krita software. Let's show them one by one. As with the interface preferences of all industry-standard professional software, some are prepared with light colors, while some themes offer us the ideal theme preferences for dark colors and eye focus. We generally prefer dark themes for eye comfort, and to make it easier to focus, This theme preference is only a preference for the colors of the program interface. You can choose any theme you like. As we mentioned at the beginning, in the Krita editor, the status bar at the bottom and the file and action menus at the top are fixed, while all other panels can be placed and repositioned in any way and from any angle. Now we will explain it with examples. The first example is to turn the docked toolbar on the left into a floating window or panel, and then we will move or dock it wherever we want. As you can see, we can move it to the top, collapse and expand it, tab it along with other panels. We can do this with all dockable child windows and panels. With these and other features that we will show you, the Krita editor is very flexible. It can be shaped and modified in a very practical way, according to your own style, preferences, and wishes, just like Lego. Workspace Presets gives you a ready-made template or great references to get you started. Workspaces are basically saved configurations of Dockers. Each workspace records how Dockers are grouped and where they are placed on the screen. They allow you to easily move between workflows without having to manually reconfigure your setup each time. The workspaces can be as simple or as complex as you want depending on the workflow you will focus on. For example, you may have a different preference for an artwork workflow, or for animation work, or for other design work. All this and more, you can also save a workspace setting with your favorite preferences that you create yourself. Under the Settings tab in the File and Action menu, there is an option to show or not show Dockers. Below that, there is a section with all Dockers, making it easy to open or close them one by one. Now we would like to share with you some very important detailed information about the Krita.org website. Krita is an amazing open source, completely free, industry standard software that can fulfill many needs and requirements of a beginner or professional artist. No trial period, no subscription, no limits to your creativity. Krita Software is extremely user-friendly with an industry-standard, very clean and flexible interface that you can customize as you wish. An intuitive user interface that makes it easy for you to work and learn. Panels can be moved and customized according to your workflow. Once you have set up your layout, you can save it as your own defined workspace. You can also create custom shortcuts for frequently used tools. Numerous professionally built drawing design tools and brush packs. In short, Krita has all the tools and resources you need. Turn Krita into an animation studio by moving into the animation workspace with lean and powerful 2D animation tools and flexible and serial interfaces that you can change according to your preferences. If you wish, you can contribute to the development of open source software in many different ways, and you can find detailed information on the Krita.org website. You can also access the Krita Guide on the Krita.org website and get much more detailed documentation and usage information. You can also check out the article about Krita's 25th anniversary and its development process. The About section provides a brief background and history of the software in detail. I would also like to tell you about resources and materials. Extend Krita's capabilities with tools and assets available for download online. You can also add brushes, patterns, and plugins that offer new functionality with vector libraries, texture packs, and page templates. And it's not over, because Krita has one of the most beautiful art communities in the world. It's such a rich and extremely generous, wonderful community, where you can find the content, tools, resources, and information that's right for you, whether you're a beginner or a professional artist. To access the community, we strongly encourage you to visit krita-artists.org, the website of Krita's artist community. A supportive community, in every sense of the word, The Krita community is home to contributors and artists from all over the world. The community is a great online environment where professional artists and many other members of the community can share their work, tips they know, and more. Share your drawing and get feedback to improve it. You can review and rate other artists' work and get inspiration for your creative process. You can give feedback to the developers about new features and add-ons. There are some great external brush packs, texture tutorials, and other Krita resources shared here for free, and you are free to use or share most of them. External brush, pen and design tools, packs or plugins, and all other public resources can be found in Krita's artist community and can be downloaded and used. We plan to release a series of tutorials on our channel that will cover all this and more in detail. Let's keep exploring Krita software together and unleash our creativity. We will continue this series with much more beautiful trainings, and we will be with you again very soon.